Good evening and welcome to episode 44 of Loomer Unleashed. I'm your host, Laura Loomer. The First Amendment is a cornerstone of American democracy, cherished and fiercely defended. It enshrines the right to free speech, a bedrock principle that underpins our entire system of government. So when we hear about someone, even a former president, being put under a gag order, it raises some serious questions about the boundaries of that fundamental freedom. For the past 2 weeks, Donald Trump has been subjected to a kangaroo court in New York City. This is the case attempting to pin Trump with, quote unquote, falsifying business records and hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. It is being presided over by a left-wing communist immigrant judge by the name of Juan Merchan. You see him in the Gatorhead tonight. Despite the fact that President Trump is at the center of the public spotlight and literally in the middle of running a national presidential campaign, this corrupt judge has chosen to slap a gag order on President Trump in the middle of an election year. This has totally muzzled him, preventing him from speaking out about the sham court trial and preventing him from defending himself. On the surface, it might seem like a reasonable measure. After all, high-profile cases often come with restrictions on what can be said to ensure a fair trial. But when you dig a little deeper and you find that the situation is more complex than it first appears, things become quite concerning. And that's the case. What we're witnessing right now is full-blown election interference. This is an unprecedented gag order on President Trump, and it is precisely designed for that reason, to prevent him from defending himself so that he can be silenced in the middle of an election year while Joe Biden and all of these left-wing prosecutors can attack and defame President Trump. So in this case, the gag order is not good. As we all know, the First Amendment doesn't just protect popular speech. It also safeguards unpopular or controversial viewpoints. Whether you love what President Trump has to say or not, nobody can deny that he represents the interests of over half of the nation. So when a court imposes a gag order on him, it's not just silencing one man, it's silencing a voice that millions of Americans voted to hear from and want to vote to hear from again, right? He is the GOP nominee for president. It's saying that certain opinions are too dangerous or too inflammatory to be allowed in the public sphere. And if President Trump isn't inciting violence, and he's never incited violence, he should be able to say whatever he wants to say. That's the standard for the First Amendment in our country. This sets a very dangerous precedent, not just for President Trump, what you're seeing with this gag order, but for all of us. It also sends a message that if the state comes after you, there is nothing that you can do, not even speak out against the injustice or even perceived injustice. This is perhaps the most concerning element of all of this. The government is on a campaign of intentional lawfare, something I've covered many times over the past few months. They are doing everything they can to soak up as much of President Trump's time and money as possible. And now if he calls us out for what it obviously is, a witch hunt, he can possibly be punished, fined, and even jailed. Alvin Bragg filed a motion holding President Donald Trump in contempt, recommending that he be jailed simply because President Trump tweeted about the bias that is being expressed through Judge Merchan and his daughter, who is the president of Authentic Campaigns, a Democrat political consulting company. It's clown world. The message is clear. Either get in line or you will have the iron fist of the deep state brought down upon you, and you will shut up and you will take it, or else. While President Trump has been bogged down in New York, the Supreme Court today heard arguments on just how far his presidential immunity extends. President Trump's lawyers, one of whom is going to be joining us tonight at 9:45 on Loomer Unleashed, spent the day pleading their case that President Trump cannot be charged for official actions taken during his administration. This, of course, all has to do with the January 6th protests at the United States Capitol, which has been used by Democrats and rhinos for the past 3 years to legitimize their witch hunt against President Trump and his supporters, many of whom are political prisoners. As we all know now, much of the violence that occurred that day, if you even want to call it violence, right? I think that it's really been overblown. They've said that it's violence, but when you look at the people that were violent, it turns out a lot of these people are encouraged by federal agents or even federal agents themselves. So, it's not really as it appears. This entire event has essentially been distorted as a way to continue the silencing of President Donald Trump. And it has been allowed to happen so that the deep state can hang it around Donald Trump's neck. In any case, Trump's lawyers are making a good point, which is that the president has a certain amount of immunity expressly given to him by the Constitution. This is in place to provide the chief executive with wiggle room and security to go after corruption, illegality, war, and other things a chief executive may need to do or may be involved in. It is this same immunity that is protecting Joe Biden from being prosecuted for allowing millions of criminal illegal alien invaders into our country. If a president has done something wrong, the only path forward is to impeach him and convict him in the Senate. This didn't happen, though, because President Trump was acquitted in both the first and the second impeachments. Yet that hasn't stopped the deep state from trying to toss President Trump in jail and relitigate the second impeachment of President Trump. But this is par for the course now, sadly, as we've seen in our country. The agenda from the deep state is to clamp down on everybody's free speech, everybody's ability to oppose the status quo, and to force us to roll over and accept our own replacement. Trump is merely the prime target. He's the man standing directly between us and them, as he frequently says on the campaign trail. This gag order and the proceeding at the Supreme Court today is putting every single American in danger. That is why it is essential that Trump perseveres in both of these cases, really all of his cases. The gravity of what is happening is extreme. It is not only going to impact the election this November in our country, but is going to impact the way our own government treats its citizens who disagree with the elites in charge.
There is a young female journalist, conservative journalist by the name of Laura Loomer.
If America's men
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fake.
Saying herself, is she saying this?
No I don't take shit, I got no love, I don't make shit, no I don't take shit, I have no love for the show that niggas wanna play dumb, and wanna hate, no I don't take shit, I got no love, everything I do, so you wanna play dumb, and wanna hate, I'm going so for the show that I got no love, everything I do is that shit, to be impassionate, every shirt I move on, it's like an adjective, I got that, against the tracks, that next, these niggas being hash, I be getting like a gas, I'm all paying last, but I don't know what's that, straight last, mask, from the penny mask, I'm the most like the gas, I'm all maybe that's down, when I tell them that, it's sorry, it's because the penny mask, you know I'm over, you should be doing my time, you know, we used to serious, because we're like, I want you to hear it, you know, but I wanted you to feel free.
Good evening, and thank you so much to everybody who's tuning in to episode 44 of Loomer Unleashed. I'm your host, Laura Loomer. You may have noticed that we actually decided to put this stream on X, Twitter, tonight. And we're doing this because we want to remind everybody that I do have a show on Rumble. You see, I have a very large following on X, and I have a fraction of my following on Rumble where my show is. And for some reason, it seems to me that every single time I tweet my Rumble link, I don't know why this is, whether X is suppressing Rumble links, but every single time I post my show link, it gets less traction in terms of retweets than any of my other tweets, whether they be videos or just regular tweets, which seem to get millions of views. And so I wanted to test it out tonight to see if it's a link suppression or whether or not all of you are even able to see my show. And so if you're watching on X, I would encourage you to move over and watch it on Rumble. My show is exclusively on Rumble. It's an exclusively live stream show on Rumble, a free speech platform. And I would encourage all of you to also subscribe to my show and my channel, Loomer Unleashed. My channel is rumble.com/Laura Loomer. We are live right now, so whether you're watching it on X or you're watching it on Rumble, please share this link. But again, I would encourage those of you who are not on Rumble to create a Rumble account or get on Rumble and subscribe to my Rumble account, which of course is free to do, because we want to build up the Rumble channel as well and make sure that everybody who follows me on X is aware of the fact that I do have a show, because I have really grown my following quite substantially since my show launched in October. And so some people were like, wow, I had no idea that Laura Loomer had a show, but I do. It airs every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We had a little bit of a modified schedule tonight because, as many of you know, today President Trump was in court in New York City, and then also today his lawyers had to go to the Supreme Court and make the oral arguments in the presidential immunity case. And so President Trump, right, this is totally unconstitutional, should be able to attend his hearing. at the Supreme Court, but he was not able to. His constitutional rights were violated today because he had to sit in a courtroom with Judge Merchan in New York City in this witch hunt trial that is taking place. So we have Will Scharf, who is representing President Trump, one of the lawyers who was there today representing him at the Supreme Court, who will be joining us tonight at 9:45 Eastern. And so be sure that you, tune in. We're also going to be joined momentarily by Angela Vanderplume, who, of course, is a Loomer Unleashed correspondent out of Chicago. And Angela decided that she was going to travel today to some of these Midwestern, encampments, these Hamas encampments that are now sprouting up all over the country. There's about 40 of them now, as of today, that have popped up on various college campuses, and universities across our country. And so she was just there, and we have some videos that we're going to be playing with you. But let's get into this first. You can go and see Loomered.com. If you aren't aware of the fact that I also have my own news site, you can go to Loomered.com. That's Loomered.com, and you can see all of our articles for the day. And we watched this morning, I watched I watched President Trump's speech when he spoke to union workers this morning, but I also was listening to the 2 hours of oral arguments this morning. And you see one of the top articles on Loomer.com. Liberal SCOTUS justices seem to agree with Jack Smith's absurd argument that President Trump's efforts to secure America's elections were not an official presidential act. And so, this, of course, arises from the indictment against President Trump over January 6th, and they're trying to say that President Trump is not protected in an active presidential immunity, even though he was president when he was still president. The transition of power had not taken place yet at the time of January 6th. And so he's arguing that it's very important that all presidents have presidential immunity. His legal team is arguing that, or else you're going to see the political persecution and targeting of all political opponents, especially in an election year. However, you have Joe Biden's DEI picked SCOTUS Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and a couple other leftists on the court arguing that President Trump was not acting in an official capacity when January 6th took place. So they're saying that him protecting our elections or making an effort to secure our elections was not an official presidential act. And it was a presidential act, and he should be immune from anything related to the time that he was when he was president. Because, look, arguments were made today by President Trump's attorneys, and we have that clip. We can go ahead and we can play that clip in a moment, that if presidents are not granted presidential immunity, then technically speaking, Joe Biden could then be held criminally accountable for allowing all of these illegal aliens, over 12 million illegal aliens, to come into our country. So why isn't Joe Biden then being persecuted and prosecuted for his open borders policies? Let's go ahead and play this clip from President Trump's attorney today making this argument in front of the Supreme Court. No, the SCOTUS hearings. John Sauer.
Presidency as we know it. For 234 years of American history, no president was ever prosecuted for his official acts. The framers of our Constitution viewed an energetic executive as essential to securing liberty. If a president can be charged, put on trial, and imprisoned for his most controversial decisions as soon as he leaves office, that looming threat will distort the president's decision-making precisely when bold and fearless action is most needed. Every current president will face de facto blackmail and extortion by his political rivals while he is still in office. The implications of the court's decision here extend far beyond the facts of this case. Could President George W. Bush have been sent to prison for obstructing an official proceeding or allegedly lying to Congress to induce war in Iraq? Could President Obama be charged with murder for killing U.S. citizens abroad by drone strike? Could President Biden someday be charged with unlawfully inducing immigrants to enter the country illegally for his border policies? The answer to all these questions is no. Prosecuting the president for his official acts is an innovation with no foothold in history or tradition and incompatible with our constitutional structure. The original meaning of
He's right. So what is going to stop Joe Biden from being prosecuted for allowing all of these illegal aliens? And how come Obama hasn't been charged with killing U.S. soldiers, American citizens in drone strikes, right? Because of presidential immunity, which is why presidential immunity is important, or else presidents would never want to do anything. They wouldn't want to, act in a manner as the chief executive because they would be worried that they would be criminally held accountable for all of their actions as commander-in-chief. And so these arguments took place today. We have some more arguments that were made as well. Let's go ahead and play some of these other clips from oral arguments. Go ahead and play the clip.
This court has never recognized absolute criminal immunity for any public official. Petitioner, however, claims that a former president has permanent criminal immunity for his official acts unless he was first impeached and convicted. His novel theory would immunize former presidents for criminal liability for bribery, treason, sedition, murder, and here conspiring to use fraud to overturn the results of an election and perpetuate himself in power. Such presidential immunity has no foundation in the Constitution. The framers knew too well the dangers of a king who could do no wrong. They therefore devised a system to check abuses of power, especially the use of official power for private gain. Here, the executive branch is enforcing congressional statutes and seeking accountability for petitioners' alleged misuse of official power to subvert democracy. That is a compelling public interest. In response, petitioner raises concerns about potential abuses, but established legal safeguards provide layers of protections, with the Article III courts providing the ultimate check. The existing system is a carefully balanced framework. It protects the president, but not at the high constitutional cost of blanket criminal immunity. That has been the understanding of every president from the framing through Watergate and up to today. This court should preserve it. I welcome the court's questions.
So essentially, that guy's got probably the most annoying voice I've ever heard in my life. That's Michael Dreeben, of course, who is the attorney for Jack Smith, making the case that this was not an official presidential act and that President Trump shouldn't be granted presidential immunity. And what's really interesting is that Michael Dreeben was making the same arguments as Ketanji Brown Jackson. And it kind of, begs the question whether or not there's coordination ahead of time between Jack Smith and some of these left-wing justices on the court. I find it to be rather strange that they were making similar arguments as well. Let's see. We have the clip of Ketanji Brown Jackson as well, arguing that President Donald Trump was not acting in an official capacity. We could go ahead and play that clip as well.
At least in the absolute immunity context, to tell us what are official acts and what are not. I'd understood that even in the, first of all, your ask is absolute immunity, isn't it?
That's our principal position.
That's your position is you want the same kind of doctrine that we've applied in other contexts when we say an official has absolute immunity. And my understanding is that when we say that, we mean for their official acts. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so any official act, so then in that world, the real decision-making from the court standpoint is whether or not something is an official act or not, correct?
That is an important determination by all means.
That's the determination in the absolute immunity world, because if you determine that it's an official act, then the principle is that you get immunity for it, correct?
That is correct.
All right, so my question, and I think the Chief Justice may have asked this at the beginning, is how do you determine what, or maybe Justice Thomas, how do you determine what is an official act? And when we're talking about the kinds of scenarios that Justice Sotomayor brought up, one could say that when the president is using the trappings of his office to achieve a personal gain, then he's actually not acting officially, even if the doctrine was absolute immunity. So what do you say about that?
Two things in response to that. First, to the last point, that allegation that this was really motivated by an improper private purpose could be made in every single case.
No, I understand that, but it would have to be made. I'm just trying to assess. Even if we had the doctrine of absolute immunity, that same allegation and the facts related to it would come in because the person would be arguing that he was not acting in his official capacity. He wasn't doing something official. He was doing it personal, correct?
I agree. The objective, or I'm not sure I agree, but the point I would make in response to that is in Fitzgerald against Nixon, this court emphasized that would result in an intrusive discussion or determination of the president's personal motives for every official act. And again, this is not just in the case of the presidency.
All right, can I just ask you another quick question before my colleagues take it over here? At the beginning of your analysis, when you were giving your opening statements, you were talking about you suggested that the lack of immunity and the possibility of prosecution in the presidential context is like an innovation. And I understood it to be the status quo. I mean, I understood that every president from the beginning of time, essentially, has understood that there was a threat of prosecution, if for no other reason than the Constitution.
So essentially what Michael Dreber and Ketanji Brown Jackson are arguing is that Donald Trump was not acting in an official capacity, that he was acting in a personal capacity when he wanted, for the sake of all Americans, to secure our elections in the aftermath of the stolen election, which everybody knows. I mean, anybody who's honest knows that Joe Biden didn't win this election. And so it is his job as the chief executive, as the commander-in-chief, to make sure that our country is protected from adversaries, both foreign and domestic. And as we saw, there were domestic adversaries who actively worked to undermine the integrity of our elections. And so President Trump was raising awareness about that. That is what January 6th was all about. It was about the false certification of the stolen election of 2020. And there's clearly a lot of evidence that shows that some of these key figures involved in funding the drop boxes, okay, look at the Zuckerbucks, for example. I would say that Mark Zuckerberg is an adversary. I would say that big tech is an adversary. These people were working actively with the FBI to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story, to illegally interfere in our elections. And so that's President Trump's job, right? As the president of the United States, your job is to inform the citizens and protect the citizens of your country from foreign and domestic adversaries. And we know that there are adversaries here in the United States of America, many of whom are also playing on an international field. When I think of George Soros, for example, and the Soros family, who interfered in our elections, just like they're interfering in the elections of other countries as well. So it's really quite an asinine argument made by Ketanji Brown Jackson, because essentially what they're trying to say is that election integrity is not an issue of national importance. That's their argument. That is the argument being made by Jack Smith, by Michael Dreber, and by these leftist Supreme Court justices. But when you have over 70% of Americans who say that they don't believe that the 2020 election was legitimate, and that they believe that election integrity and voter integrity is a top campaign or top election issue, I'm pretty sure that that then means that that is an issue of national concern, which the president should be addressing, which would mean that it would fall under the umbrella of something a president would have presidential immunity for. Right? Makes sense. I think that all of us want our president, whoever it may be at the time, to be concerned about election integrity, especially now that we have millions of illegal aliens who are coming into our country. And John Sauer, who of course was one of the lawyers representing President Trump, making the oral argument in support of President Trump, in support of this presidential immunity argument today, saying, well, then why not charge Joe Biden for allowing for all these illegal aliens to come in our country, right? What's going to happen when some of these illegal aliens vote? We're not going to hold Joe Biden accountable as well. Why? Because he's acting in a personal manner, because he wants these illegal aliens to vote, because Joe Biden wants illegal aliens whose policies they clearly approve of. You see from my reporting as well, from my interviews with these illegal aliens, they all say, we love Joe Biden. Oh, we love Joe Biden. nos apoyan, nos gustamos y queremos fronteras abiertos, right? Like you can see all this stuff from my videos in the Darien Gap, right? Oh, we love Joe Biden. We love him. We want and we support open borders. We love it. We love it. We love it. We love you, Joe Biden. I showed you the video. I showed you the video from my time in Panama in the Darien Gap, going on the Little Piragua down the river in the Bajo Chiquito migrant camp, which is right near the jungle entrance. It's the first migrant camp that these illegal aliens encounter when they get out of the jungle from crossing the Darien Gap from all over the world, okay? And this is what they're saying. These are people telling me. I met a guy from Ecuador who said he's going to come to the United States and he's going to vote for Joe Biden illegally in our election. So I think that the argument today made by President Trump's attorney was strong. We're going to have Will Scharf, who is one of the attorneys who represents President Trump, who was there today at the Supreme Court defending President Trump during these oral arguments on the show tonight. So stay tuned. But first, we're going to be joined by Loomer Unleashed contributor Angela Vanderplum, who was just with me recently reporting on the migrant crisis and also, too, the Hamas riots all across our country. She travels with me occasionally. But last week, you saw us together in New York. And we were at Columbia University together, and Angela has since gone home to Illinois, and she's in Chicago, where she decided today that she was going to go to some of the universities in Chicago where these encampments are now popping up. And as I said earlier in the beginning of the show, there's now over 40 encampments on universities and college campuses across the country right now that are standing in solidarity with Gaza, whatever that means, right? But we've seen explicit support for Hamas and explicit support for Hezbollah. And we have some exclusive videos that just were filmed about an hour or so ago out of Chicago. And you have more of these Palestinian jihadi lovers and supporters of Islamic terrorism assaulting Angela. So with that, Angela, thanks for joining me tonight on Loomer Unleashed. How's it going?
Hi, Laura. How are you? It's only been a few days since I've last seen you, and it looks like, my cell phone just likes to be taken away by illegals and pro-Hamas supporters.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It seems like we're going to need to invest in getting you some kind of a cell phone tracker, or maybe some type of a titanium cell phone protector, because whether we're in New York City and you're getting your phone taken away from you by illegal alien invaders at the Roosevelt Hotel, or what just happened to you in Chicago, why don't you just tell everybody what just happened? Because you, of course, like me, we had John Guandolo on the show last night. You have taken the Train the Trainer course. You have also, undergone counterterrorism training. And one of the things that you do for Loomer Unleashed is you track and you report on these jihadist networks. And so what did you do today in Chicago? And tell us what happened, because this is breaking news. The videos have not even been published yet, but we're going to show them tonight on Loomer Unleashed.
So I saw that USPCN, which is the United States Palestinian Community Network, was going to these encampments in Chicago, specifically on Northwestern's campus. And it's not too far from where I am. And I decided to drive out there and kind of check out and see what was going on. Back in October, you and I reported that Hatem Abdouye, which is the leader of the USPCN network, who is one of the, let's say, he's not only a leader, he's the media coordinator, and he does all of the Midwest region protests. So he's one of the coordinators of all these protests we see, not just in the Midwest, but across the United States itself. So he said he was going to be there, and I found this rather weird, considering we had uncovered that in 2011, he was under investigation by the FBI for his links to PFLP and Hamas. So I went to this encampment. They were putting up signs and billboards of all of the martyrs that were killed by Israelis or prisoners. And as we have previously reported, these martyrs are actual terrorists, and they have killed multiple Israelis and Jews. So I found that interesting, and I actually got inside the encampment itself, and I walked around and I took video, but we can talk about that later. However, I waited about 30 minutes. I turned around and I saw Hatem Abdouye standing right there. So I took a couple photos, and then I decided I was going to follow in your footsteps and I was going to Loomer him. So I went up to him, and again, this footage hasn't been seen. It's not edited. You'll be able to tell. It's a little crazy. Yeah.
And which campus was this at? Yeah, we have not edited any of this footage. We wouldn't have even had time to edit it because it just came in, frantically getting a phone call from Angela right before, I'm doing my show and reading my monologue and preparing for everything. Yeah. So we have not posted these online. So you're going to get some exclusive footage tonight. Which campus were you at when this happened?
So I was at Northwestern in Chicago itself. It's called like Deer Lawn, and it's a couple hundred people. I saw a lot of people wearing the leader of the Hamas Martyr Brigade sweatshirts, and they were wrapped in keffiyeh. I didn't see any of the Hamas headbands, but I was looking for that. But I did see Hatem. So I went up to him and I told him, hi, my name's Angela and I work for Laura. How are you doing? And he heard your name, and he
said, hi, I work for Laura Loomer. And what did he say? He goes like, oh, fuck off, you Zionist pig.
Pretty much. So I went right into it. I wanted to ask you about your ties to PFLP and Hamas. And he told me I didn't know what I was talking about. And I quoted the political articles in Canary Mission. And, he called me a racist Zionist pig. And I said, well, at least I wasn't under investigation by the FBI. And you'll see later on, he does ask me, he goes, who designated them as a terrorist organization? And I told him, the United States did, the soil that you're standing on right now. And he didn't like that. So he started threatening the guy that I was with, who came with me, and thank God he did. He was there just in case anything was to happen. So he started violently telling him, if you don't back up. So I asked him, well, what are you going to do? And I was assaulted by, we're looking into it right now. It looks like an employee that's worked with him for years, since 2017. So I will find out who that is for you and give it to you later. But he grabbed my phone and chucked it. And as I was looking for my phone, they grabbed my friend by the shoulders and started shoving him around. And then the campus. And
your friend is Jewish? Your friend, I assume, is Jewish as well?
No, he's actually not Jewish.
Oh, he's not Jewish. So they're attacking non-Jews as well. So as I said last night, some people say, oh, well, to hell with the Jews. This is just about the Jews, right? Well, what starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews. And it doesn't matter. It's now guilt by association as well. If you're friends with Jews, if you are associating with Jews, if you are a Christian, they are going to attack you. They're going to harass you. They're going to intimidate you. And so I want people to understand this isn't just a Jewish cause, right? These people are coming after everybody. And so we have these clips. Let's go ahead and play. I think this is one of the first clips, or the first clip is you in your sunglasses, right? Which one do you want us to play first?
Yeah, play the one in the sunglasses. And again, I'm sorry.
The one in the sunglasses first?
Yeah, it's a little jumbled, but you'll get it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and play this. There's a series of clips, and this is you at Northwestern University in front of their Hamas encampment. Let's go ahead and play the first clip.
Correct.
Hey, Hatem, how are you?
Good.
Hi, my name's Angela. I work for Laura Loomer. I just wanted to ask you a few questions about your investigation of the FBI for your links to Hamas and PFLP.
Really? You know what's interesting?
Yeah.
Is that you're absolutely clueless.
I'm not clueless.
There were no links.
Political
to
wrote
anybody.
about it. Canary Mission wrote about
Really?
it. Yeah. And
How
then
long
you were
ago was
invited.
that?
2011. So
Yeah.
I was wondering why
So
you're
do you
still
know,
on the street.
Do you know anything about?
Yeah, they looked into your
whether-
bank accounts and they froze them. Absolutely, I
You
know
know
all
why?
about it. Yeah, I've been reporting on you for years.
Tell me why. Since
Because
you're
you're
so
a
brilliant.
terrorist.
Since you're so brilliant.
Because you're a terrorist.
And you're a
here-
racist piece of shit.
I'm a racist piece of shit.
A white Zionist racist piece of shit. And you better not step up, motherfucker. I'm telling you right now. So take your
Or what?
Laura
Or
Loomer.
what? Or what?
Get
You'll do
lost.
what?
Get lost.
Or what? You'll do what, sir?
Hey, get lost.
Okay.
Get lost, you racist white Zionist piece of shit.
It's gonna be all over the news.
Hey, dude,
you coming to us,
you
so get
better
the fuck out of
fucking step away.
Let's go.
You better fucking step away.
Let's go.
You better step away. Motherfucker, there's 600 people here. Who the fuck do you think you are, you fat fucking racist piece of shit?
I'm not looking for anything other than... okay, you believe police racist? Can you move away from our stuff?
So anyways, I'm here at the Hamas encampment.
You're a racist, Zionist piece of shit. So get the fuck out of here. Because nobody
And
wants
Hatem
you here.
Abdouye is threatening people on campus right now.
You fucking relax. Get out of here, man.
Yeah, get out of
Get
here.
the fuck out of here.
This is our space. Can you please move? No, I know. Move out of the spot. We're sitting here.
We're gonna take this
We're
place
sitting
just
here.
like Palestine. Zionist piece of shit.
This is our line. This is our historic line. Okay, get out of my spot. We're sitting here, man.
Racist pig.
Yo, fucking brush your teeth.
Yeah. Racist
And your
pigs.
breath fucking
Both
smells,
of you.
man.
And Laura Loomer.
Not at all.
Racist, Zionist, pieces of shit, white supremacist.
He hates white people. I'm a white supremacist, according to him. I mean, God, his teeth are disgusting too. I'm gonna have to start to give you some hazard pay. His breath probably was awful, I imagine. Hopefully, you didn't get some type of permanent damage from having to get that close to his disgusting rotted teeth.
Listen, it was absolutely atrocious. Again, that gentleman in the brown shirt is the one. He came up to me. I did post the last 7 seconds on my Twitter, and you can tell he grabs my phone and chucks it, and it goes straight into the forest. I was trying to get the footage, and it wasn't working, so I paused it right there. And if you go to the next clip, it's a better film, and go into it right away, because you're gonna see him really go off.
Yeah, he really got very triggered when you mentioned that you were with Loomer Unleashed. He really didn't like that very much. But, people know from following me for years that that's why I got canceled everywhere, right? For going after jihadist networks and exposing Jew haters like this. So he clearly didn't want to address the fact that he was investigated by the FBI and his bank accounts were frozen because, then you have to tell us why. Hatem, why? Why were you investigated by the FBI? Why were your bank accounts frozen? But it's much easier to just attack white people and Jews and call you a racist and say fuck you and all this other stuff, right? So let's go ahead and play this other clip.
Right?
Dude, I'm not saying anything.
You're not. I know you're not.
I'm not saying
because
anything.
you know that you are a racist, right? You know you're a racist. You know you're a racist piece of shit, and that piece of shit is a racist piece of shit, right?
Well, you were
So
linked to
that's why
Hamas
you're not
and
saying
PFLP, so I don't know how you feel about
you
yourself.
have-
Those are
you have
designated
some
terrorist
self-control.
organizations, Hatem.
Because you're a racist fucking pig.
They're designated terrorist organizations, Hatem.
Designated by who?
The United States government, the country that you're standing in right now, Hatem.
His name is not Hatab. Know how to fucking say it.
Nah, I'm good.
Hey, listen, racists are not welcome in this space. Racist Zionist pigs are not welcome in this space. So you two are racist Zionist pigs, and you're not welcome here.
It's fine.
So you should get lost.
Terrorists shouldn't be standing on American soil.
Do you know that you really can't use that word and call anybody that? You know that, right? You know.
Well,
that's
you were under investigation by the FBI.
Liable. You moron.
You were under an investigation by the
moron.
FBI for
Moron.
ties to terrorism.
We have to get an official soundbite. Give me my phone. Every single time Angela goes out into the field, her phone gets stolen. We actually make fun of her now because every single time Angela is on assignment for Loomer Unleashed, her phone gets stolen, and we hear the same thing. Hey, give me my phone.
Do you remember when you were little in the 90s and they used to have those ties and you'd tie them around your kid? It was like a leash. I need one of those for my phone.
Yeah, I know, the little the leashing. You need a leash for your phone. But seriously, though, it's so unacceptable for him to grab your phone. And the sound over there, as you can see, the last frame is in the grass because he grabbed it from your hand. He physically assaulted you, wrestled you for the phone, and then threw your phone into the grass. And so luckily your phone isn't broken, but he clearly threw the phone and chucked it into the grass, which is why you see the last frame. Let's go ahead and play the last 5 seconds of that video again so you can see he clearly physically grabbed her cell phone. Here we go. It's for seniors, Angela. Look at this. It's called Kibos. So it's like a life alert for your cell phone. When you get older, chances are high that you will drop your phone more often and also misplace it a few times a day. This is why the Kibos phone necklace holder is the perfect phone accessory for older people and seniors. It's really the best phone case for the elderly. For the elderly and also journalists, right? Investigative journalists. It's like a life alert for your cell phone. We got to get one of those for you.
I'm going to purchase one because the next time I go out, I guarantee you they're going from my cell phone.
Play the last 7 seconds of this clip again, because I just want people to see these are violent people. You had Ilhan Omar today, a member of Congress, unfortunately, who, and we'll pull her Twitter up too, but she went to Colombia and said it was an honor. It was an honor to attend the encampment and participate in the encampment at Columbia University today, where her daughter was a student, and then her daughter was suspended the other day. So she says it's an honor to be around students, and then she says that they're not violent and that it's a lie that they're chanting in support of Hamas. Meanwhile, we have so many videos that have been filmed by students, filmed by us, filmed by other journalists as well who were there, who heard them chanting, death to all Zionists, kill all Zionists, death to America, death to Israel, Al-Qassam's next target, long live Hamas, fuck the Jews. I mean, like, you know, we were called a kike. I don't know how many times we were called slurs and had nasty derogatory comments made towards us simply because we're Jewish. I was recognized at Columbia as well. They even made a sign. They even made a sign yesterday for me, and they put it in the encampment that said, Laura loves colonialism, because my videos, our videos from Columbia were so viral. But the audacity of somebody like an Ilhan Omar, who your reporting has shown this as well. Ilhan Omar has openly associated with Hatem as well. He's also very close with Rashida Tlaib. Perhaps you can shed some light on that before we play these next clips. What is Hatem's relationship with Rashida Tlaib?
So I actually have photos of him and the guy that assaulted me together in 2017 speaking out. So they do work together from time to time. And again, Hatem is the guy, and I forget her, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. She was deported for her links to terrorism. I think it's O'Day.
Right.
Her last name. Right.
But he's openly, aren't there photographs of him with Rashida Tlaib as well?
Correct. There's photographs and video of him with Rashida at different points in time when she's doing media coverage. So I have,
and also various Islamic events too. They've attended Islamic fundraisers for groups that we're not allowed to speak about here on Loomer Unleashed because there's no free speech in America anymore. And I also have a gag order, just like Donald Trump has a gag order. But it's not hard to read between the lines and figure out which Islamic organizations we're referring to, especially if you're a longtime viewer of Loomer Unleashed. But Hatem is involved with those Islamic organizations and is involved with Rashida Tlaib, has been photographed with her at these fundraiser events and also on the campaign trail as well. And this has been documented because, of course, when she was running for Congress, this was uncovered. And, of course, the media didn't really do much. It was highlighted momentarily. And, of course, the House Republicans are not going to do anything because you can be George Santos and, be a gay man in the Republican Party and get expelled for, who knows the real reason why George Santos was expelled from Congress, right? But I can tell you that whatever it was that George Santos was expelled from Congress for, whatever type of misconduct or misappropriation of funds that these Republicans in Congress accused George Santos of engaging in, it is quite an abomination that when the Republicans have control of the House, they're expelling George Santos, who always voted with America First, who always voted in line with President Trump, and yet they have not found the testicular fortitude to call for the removal and the expulsion of Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib from Congress. I don't know what it's going to take, how many times they can associate with jihadists and terrorist supporters, how many times they can refuse to condemn Hamas and Hezbollah, and now Ilhan Omar openly going to these genocidal encampments where they are actively supporting Hamas and chanting long live Hamas. And so we have more videos as well. Let's go ahead and play more clips from this event because we have some footage from the actual encampment. Let's go ahead and play this.
No! They work for Loomer. No! They work for Loomer.
Charlie, let's go. So that's a human chain, right? We've seen these human chains that they have formed at Columbia and other universities. And what we just saw, correct me if I'm wrong, was the jihadists and Hatem forming a human chain around your friend, who isn't Jewish, by the way. They were calling him a white Zionist pig simply because he was accompanying you, quite a mensch, providing you with security and protecting you from these rabid, animalistic Palestinian jihadists. Explain to us what's going on here, because I saw a lot of hand action. That's assault. Okay, when you put your hands on another person and it's not warranted, that is assault. So your friend isn't even Jewish. Do you know what he is? Is he a Christian? What is your friend?
He's Christian.
He's a Christian. Oh,
so my friend is Christian.
So now they're attacking the
Pro-Trump,
Christians.
Proud American.
So now they're attacking. This may be one of the first videos we have of them attacking a Christian in these encampments, these pro-Hamas encampments on these university campuses at Northwestern University in Chicago. So you were filming, and then you said it ended up getting a bit scary and you ended up leaving. And that's when, of course, you called me. What else happened here? Because you clearly see them circle him. This is intimidation. They encircle him, preventing him from leaving. Describe to us what happened here to your friend.
Sure. So after they threw my phone, I went to go recover it and found it in the woods. And I came back and I started filming instantly because they started surrounding him. And as you can see, that jihadist, the pro-Hamas guy, I don't know if he was part of Northwestern or if he was part of Hatem's gang itself. I haven't figured that out yet. Started grabbing and shoving him. And then the community safety people in vests at the campus started forming a human chain around him. And then after that, they got on the megaphones and their mics and they started chanting, "No Zionists allowed, go home Zionists, get out of here." And the funny thing is he couldn't move because the crowd kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the chain kept forming all around him in different layers. So I have another video, I'm not sure if you guys have it, I can send it to you later, of an administration woman who kept asking me if I was media. And I kept telling her I wasn't going to answer questions. And I said, do you see what's happening right now? If you're part of the campus and you're an administrator, you should be making sure that this gentleman is safe to leave. Do you not see this crowd forming around him? This is going to get dangerous. She was more focused on the fact if I was media or not. She did inform me that she called someone to come down and handle the situation. At that point, I decided it was too volatile for me, and I left the encampment. I did call my friend while he was encircled, and I asked him, a couple code words. I was like, hey, tell me, if you need me to call the police, say you need decaf coffee, and he told me no. And I said, if you'd like me to stay, tell me you're thirsty. And he said he was going to hang out. Everything's fine. He's okay. He was able to leave. But it was a swarm of at least 50 to 100 people that kept encircling him, chanting, "Zionists, go home. We don't want you here." And again, this is a Christian, white male who was pro-Trump that went with me to make sure that I was safe. He wasn't even Jewish.
We're going to play some of these clips as well that show them engaging in Islamo-fascist activity on the lawn of Northwestern University, including, I'm sorry, some people may find this to be controversial, but praying. I'm just going to say it because, look, this is a Christian country. We live in a Christian country. And I find it to be very unsettling when I see people doing the Islamic call to prayer in public settings. I do. I find it to be quite unsettling. I think that it shows a resistance to assimilation, and I don't think that it has a place here in America. In these encampments, in our cities, wherever it may be. And I think that it is a very supremacist way to try to take over our society. And, you know, some people will say, oh, well, we have freedom of religion here in America. Well, these Sharia supremacists are not concerned about freedom of religion. They just encircled and harassed a Christian man on the campus of Northwestern University. They are attacking and harassing Jews. What starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews. And I find it to be quite unsettling that as they are encircling a white Christian man and calling him a white racist pig and telling him to leave, and they are stealing the phone of a Jewish woman like yourself and throwing it into the grass, that they are then getting on their prayer mats and doing the Islamic call to prayer. So let's go ahead and play this clip.
Racists go home! Racists go home! Racists go home! Racists go home! Racists go home!
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة.
And I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for several years. I am so incredibly impressed and so proud at what's happening today. I wanted to talk to you really quick just about the possibility of what might happen today, and I'm not saying it'll happen, but with anything similar to this, arrests are always possible. So we always want to be prepared here. Now, we're doing peaceful protesting, and we are not confrontational, and we are emphasizing peaceful protests. So if you do not want to get arrested, if there is police presence that is conducting arrests, walk away. But in the case that there is a police presence here and that they are conducting arrests at that moment, you need to know a few things. If a police officer detains you or approaches you and physically touches you, what you need to ask is, number one, am I free to go? If you are free to go, leave peacefully. Number two, if they say you are not free to go, ask them, am I being arrested? If you are being arrested, then get arrested peacefully. If the answer is yes, then the third question you need to say is, I will need my attorney. I am invoking my constitutional right to an attorney right now. Do not sign any papers. Nothing they give you, do not sign them. And finally, make sure you write an attorney's name and number on your arm if you can. I think Pell Legal is one of the attorneys here, organizations, so that would help. And you need to inform any arresting officer that this is your attorney. That's it. So thank you guys so much for giving me a few minutes. From the river to the sea, Palestine, be free. Thank you.
Obviously, these are very orchestrated and coordinated events, and they're being financed, because how is it that they all have matching tents on the campus of Northwestern University? And Who's providing them with the attorneys? Oh, this is a peaceful protest, but make sure that if an arresting officer comes near you, that you have the name and number of an attorney. Well, why would you need an attorney unless you were doing something illegal? Why? Why would you need an attorney? If you're simply just standing there and you're not being violent, why would you be arrested? They're intentionally trying to instigate a conflict. These people are intentionally trying to instigate violence, and that's what they want. They want to have a scene. They want to instigate a violent situation. This is why this is not free speech. These are terrorist recruitment events that are taking place on these campuses. You cannot just go buy a Hezbollah and Hamas bandana at Walmart. You could buy a tent at Walmart maybe, but they don't have unlimited tents at Walmart. Okay, so where are they getting these tents? If you go to a Walmart or a Target and you want to go buy a tent, they may have 2 in stock. But we're seeing like 20, 30 matching tents pop up. So somebody is clearly bulk ordering these tents because you can't just go buy 30 tents from the store. They don't have 30 tents at one time. You cannot go buy a Hezbollah flag. You cannot go buy a Hamas bandana. So somebody is ordering this terrorist propaganda. Somebody is supplying people on college campuses with these terrorist flags, with these terrorist bandanas. And so for the people out there that say that this is just free speech and that this is constitutionally protected behavior, it is not constitutionally protected behavior or activity to support a designated Islamic terrorist organization. They are clearly wearing Hamas bandanas. And as we saw in New York, and we have the footage as well, we can go ahead and we can play that footage again. We have the footage of them waving Hezbollah flags. Do we have that clip? Let's get that clip pulled up of Angela and I in Wall Street having the Hezbollah flag flown in our face. Because the last I checked, Angela, Hezbollah was designated as a terrorist organization in 2001, right? So this shouldn't be allowed to happen here in the United States of America. I mean, where do you go and buy a Hezbollah flag?
Well, if you ask Hatem, it depends who's designating them as terrorists. And as I informed him, the United States did, and he's in America. So I guess they forget they're in America, and we have our government, and our government has decided Hezbollah, Hamas, and PFLP are designated.
But you live in Chicago, okay? So when you go to Target and you go to Walmart or you go grocery shopping, are they selling Hamas and Hezbollah flags at the grocery store?
No, but I could take a guess. They might be selling them in Bridgeview, as we know, the Bridgeview Mosque.
Right. And so that's my point. You have to actually seek this out. So these are recruitment locations. These are recruitment centers. And obviously I'm being facetious. I know you can't buy a Hezbollah or Hamas flag at Walmart or Target. So you could barely find this stuff on Amazon if you look, because there's filters that prevent people from selling terrorist items, right? Like I once wanted to buy an ISIS flag when I was in college, and I wanted to do this undercover investigation for my university where we exposed my university sanctioning an ISIS club. And they said that I could fly the ISIS flag at the Festival of Nations, which was a student organization, I guess you could call, festival that they had on the campus of my university. And I couldn't find an ISIS flag, okay? Because you can't buy an ISIS flag. You would have to have an ISIS flag made. It's not that easy to just go find a Hezbollah or Hamas flag unless you are clearly getting the supply imported by these Iranian proxies to Iranian proxy mosques in places like Chicago. And we know Muslim Brotherhood affiliated mosques and Islamic centers across this country. And we know that they're doing this. We know that there's John Guandolo on the show last night, former FBI special agent and national security expert and advisor, who said that they have identified Hamas and Hezbollah terror cells in all 50 states, right? So we know that this is not a conspiracy theory. This is happening and this is real. And we saw it in New York City. Go ahead and play the clip.
Why are you waving a Hezbollah flag?
A woman that supports Donald Trump, you're fucking hilarious.
Excuse me, why are you waving a Hezbollah flag? Hezbollah's a terrorist organization. That's a terrorist organization. Do you support Hezbollah?
Yes, I do. Donald Trump is anti-Semitic.
Don't put the Hezbollah flag on me.
Donald Trump is anti-Semitic. Look at him.
Why are you supporting this? This is terrorism. She is supporting Hezbollah. How come you guys don't have counterterrorism out here?
Respect each other's space. Go around. Respect each other's space.
That is a terrorist flag. That is a terrorist flag.
Do you commend Hamas?
Do I support Hamas?
Do you
Hell no.
commend Hamas?
I don't support Hamas.
Put makeup on, then kill yourself. Get more surgery, then kill yourself.
Yeah, maybe you need
Get more surgery. More Botox.
Once you get a little bit more fucking
More surgery. Put more Botox in the ass. The ass. Get a BBL, bitch. Bitch, you need a BBL. You need surgery. You look scared.
So obviously you saw that. You were there. You're in that video with me. Angela, I know that we're going to be posting these videos. We're going to get an article up on Loomer Unleashed tonight about this as well. Where do people follow you? Because you have been tracking, you're doing a phenomenal job with Loomer Unleashed, tracking all of these different Telegram channels and tracking all of the different Instagram accounts and all of the different flyers and networks. She's like a little sleuth, a counter jihadi sleuth. Where do people follow you to get this information? Because I don't really see anybody else aside from you, me, and really just a Loomer Unleashed team, mostly you, because obviously this is your assignment, right, for Loomer Unleashed, tracking all of these people. And so where do people follow you to get all this information? Because nobody else is going to show this information. I don't see anybody else aside from Loomer Unleashed on the ground getting in the faces of these terrorist organizations.
So you can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is kind of a joke because it does really, it insults them and it grinds their gears when they see my Twitter handle. It really enrages them. So it's at Anjula90, and that's spelled ANJEWLA 90, Anjula 90. And every time they have tweet or talk about me, they have to put a little Jew in there, and I know it really gets them. So that's what it's going to stay.
Yes, you love reminding them. We love it. And where else? Well, obviously on Loomer Unleashed, loomer.com, you can read Angela's reports as well. Follow her on Twitter. What's next, Angela? You're going to be going back to other universities in Chicago. Are there other universities in Chicago where these Hamas riots are going to be taking place that you can share with us?
Yeah, so Loyola and UIC are next, and I was actually just talking to a Jewish student from UIC who has sent me pictures of pro-Hezbollah and PFLP people in front of the Chabad house at UIC with PFLP flags waving. So I'm working on an article with that, and they're going to be sending me more video of these people stalking Jews and Christians on college campuses in the jihadi name.
Well, we're going to get these clips up on my X account, and we're getting all of the logos on them as well right now and uploading those to Rumble as we speak. We have the production team working on that. Because really, this is breaking footage. Just the power of investigative journalism. It's the power of citizen journalism, right? That you can break a story like this moments before you have a live show. You don't see the media down there. You don't see the media reporting on this. They want to make it a Jewish issue. They want to make it an Israel issue. And this isn't necessarily about Israel or Jewish people. This is about Sharia supremacy. This is about Islamic supremacy. And yes, what starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews. But the Christian population of this country and Christians worldwide are going to be just as victimized and just as targeted as the Jews. And unfortunately, unless you study Islam, unless you study the supremacist ideology firsthand, I encourage everybody to go read the Quran and see for themselves the way that Jews and Christians are classified as infidels. I would say that the fervor and the hatred is probably greater towards the Jews than the Christians at first, right? Because they want to have this kind of phony Christian-Islamic alliance that we're now seeing pop up online, where they're trying to trick Christians into thinking that, Islamists are their allies and that Christians and Muslims are allies. No, it's actually backwards. Christians and Jews are allies. And I'm not saying that all Muslims are adversarial, but for the most part, the Islamic ideology, unless you are a Muslim living here in America or the Western world and you're advocating for Islamic reform, and the Islamic reform movement is a very tiny fraction of the nearly 2 billion Muslims that exist on this planet, then Islam is inherently hostile, not just towards Western civilization, but towards Judeo-Christian values, towards Jewish values. I know some people have a problem with the term Judeo-Christian. And if you're one of those people, then just know that Islam is hostile towards Jewish values. It's hostile towards Christian values. It's hostile towards American values and Western civilization, which is why, of course, Islam advocates for an ummah, a global Islamic caliphate, which we have to counter because we are watching the rise of Islamic supremacy. And it's time for the House Republicans and it's time for the media to start addressing this before more people get hurt. So with that, Angela, thank you so much for your bravery. Stay safe out there. I will send you one of these Life Alert phone cases sometime soon because we don't want your phone getting broken. And with that, we'll see you soon. But thank you so much. And everybody be sure that you follow her at Angela90 on X. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you so much. And hopefully I'll be back soon with more reporting. Bye, Laura.
Bye. Thank you for coming on. And so we're going to be joined momentarily now by, we'll go to the chat for a few moments as well before we get Will connected. But before we move on to our next interview with Will Scharf, who, of course, is one of the attorneys for President Trump, who represented President Trump today in the SCOTUS hearing regarding presidential immunity, I want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of tonight's episode of Loomer Unleashed, 1775 Coffee. I don't know about you, but I don't like bad coffee. I really dislike bad coffee. It's really hard to get a good cup of coffee these days. And that's why I'm really excited to introduce all of you to a company revolting against bad coffee, and that's 1775 Coffee. In 1775, the world awakened to a new era, and now 1775 Coffee is bringing you a coffee that embodies that same revolutionary spirit. Crafted with passion and precision, 1775 coffee beans are ethically and exclusively sourced from the finest coffee farms of Bolivia. 1775 Coffee Co.'s farm-to-cup journey ensures the highest quality, authenticity, and sustainability from start to finish. With each sip, your palate will recognize, appreciate the dedication and passion that goes into crafting this single source brew. You can see here, you go to 1775coffee.com/Loomer, 1775coffee.com/Loomer, and get up to 10% off your order with 1775 Coffee. The great thing about 1775 Coffee is it's the official coffee brand of Rumble. And so when you support 1775coffee.com/Loomer, you're with my referral code, of course, you are supporting free speech and you're also supporting my show because we wouldn't be able to have this show. We wouldn't be able to continue pushing out this content. You wouldn't be able to see somebody like me on the mainstream media talking the way I do about these issues, having an honest conversation with you, identifying the threats and addressing the threats in a very direct manner because they would be censored. I would be silenced. I would be shut down, which is why I'm still banned on all the other social media sites, is because I'm brave and I speak out against Islamic supremacy and I speak out about all these real threats facing our country, facing Western civilization. They don't like it. They don't like the fact that I'm a Trump supporter. They don't like anything about me. And so I'm very grateful to all of my supporters, and it's people like you that purchase 1775 Coffee that allow for Rumble to exist and allow for my show to exist, because I wouldn't be able to do what I do, and I wouldn't be able to have my show if it weren't for the support of my sponsors. And so we're truly grateful to 1775 Coffee. And if you like my show and you love Loomer Unleashed, go to 1775coffee.com/Loomer and get your coffee today. Use code Loomer for 10% off at checkout. We all drink coffee. We all love coffee. Why go to the grocery store and buy some random brand of coffee when you could support free speech and support Loomer Unleashed by ordering 1775 Coffee? And it tastes good. I like it. I drink it personally. I would not tell you to buy a product that I don't personally use. All the products that I advertise here are products that I personally use and personally enjoy, because I would never tell my supporters or my viewers to purchase a product that they themselves do not use, that I myself do not use. So again, that's 1775coffee.com/Loomer, code Loomer at checkout for up to 10% off. We're going to wait a couple of moments for Will Scharf to connect. He's going to be joining us by phone. He's a very busy man. He's been on back-to-back interviews since today's Supreme Court hearing, as you can imagine. He's been on CNN, he's been on CBS, and he is making time for us tonight. So that's why we modified our schedule tonight and started Loomer Unleashed a little bit later, because he agreed to stay up later and call us live from Washington, D.C. So we'll wait a couple moments for him to connect. Oh, is he connected now? It's by phone. So I just want to make sure he's done, because I believe he's leaving the CNN studios. He told me that his CNN hit was going to last till about 9:30. So, oh, he can hear us now. All right.
Hey, Laura, how are you doing?
Hey, I believe we have Will Scharf now. Will, how's it going? Thank you so much for coming on Loomer Unleashed tonight. I really appreciate it.
No, it's great to be with you. I think today was a great day for President Trump, a great day for America. We're just really excited by everything that happened at the U.S. Supreme Court today, and it's just it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're very busy. So thank you so much for making time for us today. I know you've been on back-to-back interviews. What can you tell us? I know that, you have to be careful about what you say, privileged information representing President Trump, of course. But we saw today these oral arguments in the Supreme Court regarding presidential immunity. And what really struck me is, it was very bizarre to me seeing Michael Dreeben and Ketanji Brown Jackson having almost identical arguments. And it kind of just made me wonder, is Jack Smith coordinating with some of these leftists on the court? I don't know if you can speak to that, but it just seemed a little bizarre to me that Michael Dreeben and Ketanji Brown Jackson had almost identical arguments. I'm sure you caught that today while you were sitting in the Supreme Court.
Well, Laura, there was something else that Dreeben said that I don't think has been reported anywhere yet that almost blew our minds. Dreeben admitted at one point that some of his arguments had been cleared with the Solicitor General of the United States. So that's one of the highest ranking members in the Biden Department of Justice. Now, we've heard over and over and over again that the special counsel's office is independent, that Joe Biden isn't directing this, that the Biden administration has nothing to do with this. And Dreeben essentially admitted that their entire prosecution is being done in coordination with the senior most levels of the Justice Department. That's obviously being run by Merrick Garland. We can talk about him if you want. But to me, that was just an admission that we weren't expecting and really raised our hackles. I mean, it's insane that this sort of a prosecution would be directed by a sitting president of the United States of America against his principal political rival, who's currently on track to wreck him next November.
Yeah, I did catch that, which is why I led the interview with the question about whether you think Ketanji Brown Jackson and some of the more left-leaning justices appointed by Joe Biden on the court are directly coordinating with Jack Smith and, Mr. Dreeben himself, because I found it to be rather strange that they both had this very succinct argument. I mean, when I say succinct, it was nonsensical, of course, but the way that they phrased it and the terms that they used and the way that they both described President Trump, I believe the term that they used was a king that could do no wrong, right? Describing President Trump as some kind of unruly tyrant and king. And so he actually referred to the Trump administration as a regime. And so the lack of self-awareness is quite astonishing, right? They are projecting themselves.
Well, I think that's exactly right. And it's also worth noting that Dreeben was a principal legal advisor to the whole Mueller-Russia collusion investigation hoax. I mean, this is a guy who's been an antagonist of President Trump, of the MAGA movement, of everything that we're trying to do in this country for a very long time. And it's almost funny to me that this is the guy that they put up in front of the U.S. Supreme Court to argue this sort of a momentous issue. Now, he's a very experienced appellate advocate. He's been in D.C. forever. But the fact that they would take Mueller's key legal advisor and have him be their guy, I think it just goes to show how lockstep the left is on their endless campaign to get Trump at all costs.
Will, also, can you speak to the unconstitutionality today and really just the unprecedented nature of President Trump not being able to attend his own hearing today and being denied his right to do so while he was subjected to another day 7 of this witch hunt trial in Washington, well, actually in New York City while you were in Washington, D.C., in front of Judge Merchan. I think that it's unconstitutional for President Trump to not be able to attend his own SCOTUS hearing if he wanted to do so, because Judge Merchan has been so combative and unwilling to work around President Trump's trial schedule, the Supreme Court schedule, and also we saw this week in a very anti-Semitic act, I would say so myself, his insistence on forcing I guess, kind of in conflict with the New York court system, President Trump's attorneys, all of whom happen to be Jews, to work on Passover. What can you speak to that? Because I find it to be quite inappropriate that President Trump was not able to attend his hearing today.
Yeah, and I think I'm Jewish as well, Laura, and I thought that was really surprising that this trial was scheduled essentially to start right as we're kicking off one of our most important holidays, especially given that so many lawyers involved in this process are Jewish. In terms of attending SCOTUS, I was really surprised by that. We asked Judge Mershon to make that dispensation. It's worth noting that the Supreme Court arguments here were scheduled long before the New York trial was scheduled. So you would have thought that he would have allowed, President Trump to sit in on his own Supreme Court arguments in another criminal case. But he didn't. We didn't really buck that. President Trump was in court in New York. I think it was a pretty good day for our team in New York as well, based on the readouts that I've gotten. And things went great for us in D.C. So it's really unfortunate. I know President Trump wanted to be at the Supreme Court, but maybe next time if they keep bringing these show trials at us and we keep having to appeal them up and beat them. So.
But can you speak to just how uncommon this is? Because I think that, this is being lost on a lot of people. There's a lot of people that say, oh, well, why should Jews get special privilege, right? It's not that Jews are getting special privilege. It's that the New York court system, generally speaking, because there are so many Jews in New York, has a modified court schedule to accommodate Passover. And generally speaking, if an attorney requests for religious reasons time off or the trial, and you've been an attorney for some time now, so you know this, generally speaking, the religious exemptions for attorneys are granted. But it seems like the rules apply to everybody except Donald Trump, right? Except Donald Trump. And when I say that, I mean the rules of decency and the rules of accommodation apply to everybody except Donald Trump. I don't know if you can speak on that, but
yeah, I think in many respects they've completely thrown out the rule book that would normally apply in their haste to get Trump. I'd make just 2 points on the Passover issue. First, as you said, there are lawyers involved here who are Jewish. And normally that's a dispensation that the courts would just make without even really thinking about it. That if a lawyer has a religious conflict, you try to work around their schedule as long as their demands aren't unreasonable, which they certainly weren't here. The other important thing to note, though, is that in terms of jury selection, scheduling this trial to start right at the start of Passover the way that they did essentially ensured that any Orthodox Jew who was on the jury panel would be excused for cause. Now, in New York City, in Manhattan, where this trial's happening, probably the most reliably conservative Republican voting bloc, probably the most pro-Trump voting bloc in the city, is actually Orthodox Jews. So there's a political dimension there as well, which just speaks to the unfairness of this whole process.
Yeah, and look, there are non-Jews who work for President Trump, but I will say that majority of the attorneys, and you are on President Trump's legal team, so you can speak to this, majority of President Trump's attorneys are Jewish. They are. I mean, previous and current. You have David Schoen, you have Emil, you have yourself, you have Boris Epstein, you have Susan Nichols, you have mostly Jews. I don't know if Alina Habba is Jewish or not, but majority of his legal team is Jewish.
There are a lot of us. It's almost sort of following the stereotype of Jewish lawyers. But, President Trump has a ton of support in the Jewish community. He got a bigger percentage of the Jewish vote than I think any Republican candidate since Ronald Reagan, maybe even more. And I think this time around he'll get even more just because of how crazy the left has gotten on Israel and other issues. But yeah, it's really shameful. I think this whole process is shameful. I think the New York trial, we call it the first of the Biden show trials, and that's really what we're seeing play out there. It's really, really bad. But fortunately, again, I think today was a good day in court for us. I think the facts are absolutely on our side because President Trump didn't do anything wrong, and he certainly didn't do anything illegal. And I think that New York indictment should have just never been brought in the first place.
Well, it seems like what they're trying to do is relitigate the second impeachment, right? And that we already see that President Trump was acquitted. And I don't know if you would agree with this, but speaking to people I know and also just observing this on the outside, it seems like they're just trying to relitigate the arguments surrounding January 6th and the second impeachment. And as was argued today as well, right? If you wanted to take action against the president, you would have to impeach him in the Senate, and he would have to be convicted. But we saw President Trump was acquitted in both impeachments, and so would you say that is a correct assessment? Do you think that the left is just trying to relitigate the second impeachment of President Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think at a basic level, Laura, the left has never forgiven President Trump for crushing Hillary Clinton in 2016. That they thought he was going to lose. He won with a massive electoral majority. And they've just never forgiven him for that. So you had the Russia collusion hoax. You had all the efforts at political interference and legal interference with the Trump administration. You have the impeachments. And now you have this unprecedented campaign of lawfare playing out in courtrooms across America. We just saw a new indictment down in Arizona yesterday. And they're just hell-bent on preventing President Trump from doing what he does best, which is one, campaign for office, and two, governing the country. I mean, nobody can look at the last 3 years under Joe Biden and say that, America's better off now than it was under President Trump. So I think the left just has this incredible axe to grind. I think it dates back to 2016. And I think they won't give up because all they have is these bogus legal claims, these insane conspiracy theories. They can't litigate this election on the merits. So instead, they're litigating it in court on the back of indictments that should just have never been brought, cases that should have just never been brought. And that's just a perversion of our entire system, our legal system, our political system, our system of elections. It's just so blatantly wrong. And I think America sees through it. I think the American people understand what's going on. And I think it's one of the reasons why President Trump's going to win next November. But in the meantime, it's just incumbent on all of us to keep fighting like hell. President Trump never gives up fighting for us, and we all need to be there fighting for him.
I agree with that completely. What actions can you take, or what actions, if you're able to shed some light on this, perhaps you're not able to disclose this information, but, regarding this collusion that you picked up on today from Michael Dreben's statements, and I found it to be quite inappropriate and astonishing as well, and found it to be quite alarming that Ketanji Brown Jackson had almost identical arguments, even using the same, the same terminology as Michael Dreeben. What action do you plan on taking, or does the rest of President Trump's legal team plan on taking to investigate the collusion within the Biden administration and this, prosecution of President Donald Trump?
Look, I think first we need to win. I think today at the Supreme Court, we were really encouraged by the way the justices were thinking about this case. I think we need to keep winning in court, as we have been doing all across America, particularly over the last 6 months. We need to keep fighting and winning in court. And then ultimately, I think every American needs to get out and vote. All of our people need to get to the polls in November and make sure that we put Donald Trump back in the White House. And all of this corruption that we're seeing, all of the sorts of things that you're talking about, I think the first step that we have to take, if we're ever going to deal with any of that, if we're ever going to get to the bottom of what's really going on here, I think it starts with putting President Trump back in the White House and restoring the rule of law and order and everything that we believe in to American government and to the legal process. So I wouldn't go deeper on exactly what you're talking about there. I think the left is very, very adept at all kind of marching to the same drummer, playing out of the same playbook, whatever analogy you like. But I think really we need to keep our eyes on the prize, which is number one, continuing to win in court, and then number two, putting President Trump back in the White House where he belongs.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully, President Trump can address a lot of this corruption at the courts and really just weaponization, not only of our government, but of our entire judicial system, because I think millions of Americans are watching this, and one of the reasons why President Trump is continuing to rise in the polls, Will, is because you have everyday people who are not a billionaire like President Trump, who are not the president of the United States like Donald Trump, who are not powerful people, thinking to themselves, if they can get away with doing this to Donald Trump in an election year, and it's so blatant and it's so obvious, what can they do to me? And I think that it's something that really scares people, both Republican, Independent, Democrat, and people who are maybe first-time voters and have just been apolitical their whole life.
Can I tell a quick story, Laura? Can I have 2 minutes?
Absolutely. You can have as much time as you want.
So I met a man last year in Vernon County, Missouri, which is western Missouri. He was at the January 6th protests. He walked into the Capitol. He was dressed in colonial garb. He walked into the Capitol. He was inside the Capitol for 17 minutes, during which time he did nothing wrong. He didn't break anything. He didn't riot. He didn't hit anybody. He did nothing wrong. A police officer approached him, asked him to leave the Capitol 17 minutes after he walked inside, which he immediately did. He's now serving a year in federal prison. I won't use his name because I haven't asked his family for permission. But when you talk about the use of federal law enforcement, when you talk about the use of our legal system to oppress ordinary people, if that's not just a blatant punishment of political dissent, I don't know what is. So as I think you know, I'm a former federal prosecutor. I prosecuted violent criminals in the St. Louis area for the U.S. Attorney's Office there. To me, it's the exact opposite of what I was trained to do. The idea that you would throw the book at a guy who did absolutely nothing wrong and railroad him through the most unfavorable courts in the country and then literally tear him away from his family and throw him in prison. To me, that's the Biden administration in a nutshell, that they want to criminalize dissent. They want to criminalize people who think differently than they do. And they want to make an example of anybody who sticks their head up, anybody who sticks their neck out, anybody who's willing to stand up for principles that they don't believe in. And it starts with President Trump, but I promise you it does not end with him. And that's why it's so important that we win these fights.
Absolutely. And you're helping President Trump. And I know you came on tonight to speak about President Trump. But I will say that if you live in Missouri, you have to vote for Will Scharf because he's also a candidate for Missouri Attorney General. And we need attorney generals in our country who actually understand this and are willing to combat and call out weaponized government. And so I know that you're quite humble, Will, from speaking with you in New York outside the courthouse, but it is very important that that we get President Trump back in office, but that we also get people like you into office as well, who are standing up and calling out this nonsense, because President Trump can't do it on his own. And one of the reasons why the Democrats have been so successful in getting away with weaponized government and attacking him is because there's so much cowardice in the Republican Party, right? There's so many weak people in the Republican Party. You had all these House Republicans today go down to Columbia University yesterday to give speeches, and yet they couldn't stop outside the courthouse while they were also in New York, just a couple blocks away. So you just have such a lack of leadership from House Republicans, and so it's very refreshing when I see people like you who are running to be elected officials like you are. You're running to be the Missouri Attorney General. And so we have people all over, all 50 states watch Loomer Unleashed. So if you're in Missouri, or how do people support your campaign as well so that we can get somebody like you into office so that you can restore law and order in our country?
Yeah, I mean, you can find us online at votescharf.com, VOTESCHARF.com. You can find me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Truth Social, at Will Scharf. I'll say, Laura, one of the most disappointing things to me about the Republican Party today is you have a lot of Republican politicians who on the campaign trail, they pound their chests and they talk about how conservative they are. And then they get into office and they don't live up to any of their promises. And they don't really represent their people. They don't represent the principles they claim to espouse. And that's just so dangerous and such a problem in our movement. It's been one of the things that's frustrated me the most. And I think that's true with a lot of the politicians in Washington, D.C. I think it's especially true with a lot of the politicians that we have in states all across the country at the state level, that they're willing to say just about anything to get elected, but then they're not willing to do the tough work when they get into office. And that's a real problem that we have to confront and defeat.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you want the viewers and the listeners to know about this Supreme Court oral arguments today, or anything else that you want them to know about any of the advancements in President Trump's legal cases?
So we'll probably hear from the court. We'll probably get an opinion from them in June, probably towards the end of June. So we're going to have a little wait here, but we think the arguments today went very well. We think the justices were thinking about the case in the right way. So we're very optimistic here. The other big things on the horizon, obviously we have this New York show trial that's continuing to proceed. It's an important one. It may be the only trial President Trump has to go through before Election Day. We're certainly hoping it's the only trial he has to go through before Election Day. Other than that, we have this Georgia prosecution. We have the Florida documents case. We have this new indictment down in Arizona. I mean, President Trump's obviously not a party in that Arizona indictment, but it involves, issues related to some of our cases. I think the American people need to understand that we're seeing an unprecedented coordinated campaign of lawfare that's ultimately aimed at election interference. Do not view this through any lens other than that. That's what's going on, and that's what we need to defeat.
And it's no surprise and it's no coincidence either, Will, that this is all taking place in key states: Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania. Okay, New York is now in play. And I can't help but also, state the obvious, which is that one of the reasons why Joe Biden is also allowing for New York to descend into absolute chaos while President Trump is on trial, I think they're intentionally trying to endanger the safety of President Trump and his legal team. And I also think that they are willing to sacrifice Jews and see the streets of America run red with the blood of Jews and Christians for the sake of winning the uncommitted Islamic vote in states like Michigan and Minnesota. Key states, right, that are also in play. Minnesota's in play. New York's in play. I don't know what you have to say about that, but all the lawfare and all of the tactics revolve around key states with large electoral college vote counts.
Yeah, I think this new Arizona indictment, it's brought by a Democrat office holder in a state where President Trump is winning in the polls. I think it's calculated to have political impact, not legal impact. And with respect to your other point, I think absolutely Joe Biden is terrified of losing Michigan. And as a result, he has set the Middle East on fire with his cowardice and with his weak-kneed approach to the fights that are going on there. I mean, it's so clear and it's so obvious what they're doing. It's shameful. And I think that clear-eyed Americans like us need to call a spade and call out, what we see going on here, which is Joe Biden sacrificing world peace, sacrificing the future of the world to get a couple more votes in Michigan and Minnesota.
Yeah, sacrificing national security too, because let's be honest, President Trump has not only called out the weaponized government, but also the lack of national security and public safety. I mean, it's absolutely obscene that President Trump is being treated like a criminal, and they're not allowing for protesters to gather outside of President Trump's trial after you had a communist Trump hater by the name of Max Azzarello light himself on fire. I'm honestly starting to think this was all intentional, because if you look at this guy's social media, he had all of these posts glorifying Aaron Bushnell, who self-immolated in front of the Israeli consulate. And how convenient for them that one of their own basically caused a shutdown of the free speech zone outside of the courthouse, so nobody can support President Trump, but all of these actual criminals and jihadists are able to roam the streets of New York City. I mean, Donald Trump is being treated like a criminal while actual terrorists are able to terrorize Americans on the streets of New York City. It's shameful.
Yeah, it's always a double standard that you have people actively espousing terrorist groups, pushing Hamas and Hezbollah and all these groups in American cities, and yet patriotic Americans can't protest for conservative causes for President Trump. It's a total perversion of our system, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, that guy setting himself on fire, it was pretty wild. But the idea that you would shut down free speech in New York, the idea that you would shut down political dissent in response to that sort of incident just doesn't make any sense to me, especially in light of what's going on in other parts of New York, as you've said. So it's a sad day. We're seeing a total weaponization of law enforcement, of our system of law and order, of the courts, for nakedly political ends. And that's just not the American way. That's not what our republic is founded on.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Well, Will, you're doing a great job representing President Trump. We want to thank you for standing by President Trump, the greatest president our country's ever had, and for fighting against this weaponized government. It's not easy. You weren't able to celebrate Passover this week because all these judges and Joe Biden, they're all anti-Semites and they all hate Trump, and they just want to see everybody, in President Trump's orbit get targeted and live a miserable life. It's guilt by association, and everybody who is standing by President Trump and is working for President Trump is also having their life negatively impacted. And that's a story that we don't really get to hear a lot of because you guys don't complain about it, but it's not easy. And I just hope that people listening and watching understand that these judges like Judge Merchan and people like Joe Biden and people like Michael Dreeben and people like Jack Smith, they are malicious and they are targeting and they are harassing the lawyers and the staffers who work for these lawyers who are fighting to protect President Trump and fighting to save our country. And so we really appreciate all of your hard work and the rest of the legal team as well, Will.
Laura, I get death threats on Twitter just about every day now. Fortunately, Missouri is a constitutional carry state, and I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment. So, come at me. But we're living in scary times, and I think we all need to be aware of that. And I think it just drives home the stakes of the political fights and the legal fights that we're in today.
Absolutely. Where do people follow you on social media again, Will, so they can keep up with you and all of your great work?
I'm at Will Scharf, WILLSCHARF, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Truth Social. And my campaign website is votescharf.com.
Wonderful. Well, again, Will, thank you so much for taking time to come on Loomer Unleashed. I know you're very busy, and I'm sure you have lots of interviews tomorrow as well. So we really appreciate it because everybody watching loves and supports President Trump.
Tomorrow, I finally get to fly home from the swamp and get back to Missouri, which will be most welcome. But thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And thank you for everything that you do, Laura. I know it means the world to the president. It means the world to our team. And you're just you've been an absolute killer for us. So thank you.
Yep. Anything I can do to help all of you and President Trump, I will do. And thank you so much, Will. Happy Passover and safe travels back to Missouri.
You too, Laura. Thank you.
So you heard it there from Will Scharf himself. I posted this last week, a few days ago. I said, this Judge Merchan's a real anti-Semite. And I was calling out the fact that they completely changed the court schedule. They told President Trump's legal team that they were going to have Passover off. And then they forced all of his Jewish lawyers to show up on Passover. And people said that I was making it up. And you got to hear it directly from the mouth of Will Scharf, who, of course, is Jewish and is one of the lawyers who is representing President Trump. So it's not a conspiracy theory. It's not fake news. It is real. And they feel personally attacked by being forced to work on Passover. It's not right. It's unfair. And it's really, it just goes to show you how sinister this is. And they're not just trying to get President Trump. They're trying to attack the people that work for him as well. And we need to be respectful of people and their religious holidays and their time. And just the fact that, President Trump is being told he can't go to his mother-in-law's funeral. He can't go to his son's graduation. His lawyers can't celebrate Passover. They can't see their families. It's really evil. It's sick. It's twisted. It's not American. And it's just really in poor form and bad taste. And so I'll continue doing everything I can to be President Trump's voice and to be his bullhorn since he's been gagged, he's been silenced, and his legal team has also been silenced. I don't work for President Trump, right? But I'm very passionate about President Trump because I understand the sense of urgency. This country is over. I hope people understand. People will say to me, oh, you know what? You need to get a life, Laura. You need to go find a man. You need to go get, married and have kids. And it's like, do you think I want to get married and have kids or even go on a date in a communist country? Do you honestly think that I'm thinking about, dating or anything aside from getting President Trump back into office when our country is literally on fire? We have 7 months to get our country right or else this country's over. And 2 of those months, Donald Trump is going to be forced to be in a courtroom. It is so unethical. It is so unconstitutional. It is completely un-American. And I just want people to have the same sense of urgency that I have. Okay. I just want people to develop a sense of urgency. I feel like I've developed a permanently raspy voice because I'm always talking. I'm never able to rest my voice. I'm never able to sleep because all I do is fight for President Trump. And you know what? I want other people to start putting in the same effort. I want them to spend less time going out on the weekends. I want them to cancel their date nights. I want them to cancel movie nights. I want them to spend less time doing whatever it is in their social life so that they can put some time and effort into taking our country back and doing what is necessary and required to get Donald Trump back into office, because he's basically having to campaign with a handicap. He's still campaigning better than Joe Biden, but he has to campaign with a handicap because his mouth has been gagged, he has been silenced, and really, you're not really able to campaign across the country when you're subjected to staying in New York 5 days out of the week, right? Which is why Donald Trump had to wake up early this morning, probably like 4 o'clock in the morning, when you imagine all the security measures that go into, securing the perimeter, when he was speaking to all these union workers today. So his staff don't get to sleep. I've traveled on Trump Force One. I've been on the president's plane with him, and I've seen his staff. They don't get to sleep. When you're traveling with President Trump from time zone to time zone, you're awake. President Trump's awake. He's not getting enough sleep. His staff aren't getting enough sleep, and they're having to come up with creative ways to campaign because Joe Biden is directly coordinating with these prosecutors, with Jack Smith, Joe Biden's DOJ. Joe Biden himself is coordinating with people like Fani Willis and others to silence Donald Trump and to interfere illegally. And don't think that they're not coordinating with the people responsible for these indictments in these quote unquote fake elector cases. Like, what the hell is a fake elector? Really, what is a fake elector? It's just the words that they come up with to try to justify the persecution of President Trump. It's clown world. We're living in a clown world. We really honestly are living in a clown world. Let's see what people have to say in the comment section. And that's another thing too. And again, I'm only talking about this because it's just gotten to a point where it's so out of control. I'm really getting sick and tired of all the Jew bashing. President Trump's legal team is mostly comprised of Jews. The people that are fighting to help President Trump beat this litigation and to take back our country and to fight the weaponized government, they're mostly a Jewish legal team. I'm not saying they're all Jews, right? But when people say really derogatory things about Jews, why don't you specify the groups that you're talking about, like AIPAC and the ADL, right? Why do you have to classify everybody as if there's some kind of secret society? I think it's really offensive. And I think that we're all Americans at the end of the day. It's not like we're separated by being Jewish or Christian or, whatever we may be. But clearly there is a great hostility right now towards the Jewish population in this country. And I wanted to highlight the fact that President Trump has a lot of people on his team, especially Jews, that are working hard to help him beat weaponized government. And I think that there's a lot of unfair demonization against people these days. So I don't like it. Let's see. Scroll up a bit. I want to see what people were saying in the comments. Let's read some of the super chats because we didn't get to all those. Let's see. Press 1 in the chat if you enjoyed the interviews tonight, if you enjoyed Will Scharf, and if you enjoyed Angela. I want to make sure that all of you are always enjoying, let's see, tortilla chips cannot satisfy and crunch to the hummus. Okay, well, alrighty, sure. I just subscribed. Laura, been checking you out for years. Keep fighting the good fight. ML and blessings. Thank you so much. Illegal sleeper cells a concern. A type of terrorist organization that operates covertly, often hiding in plain sight and waiting for the order to strike. Yes, absolutely. We have those. We have those here. Somebody said, give Angela my digits. She's married. Stay away. She's a married woman. She's a married woman. I was her maid of honor at her wedding. You can't have her. Let's see. President Trump is innocent. Biden is guilty. Arrest Biden. Free Trump. Absolutely. Absolutely. Scroll down. Yeah, Angela's on X and Will is on X as well. Nikki6512 said, Mershon should recuse himself. What a pompous dick. He knows damn well he's a faulty POS. Absolutely. Let's see what else. Mershon needs to recuse himself. I was just saying to a chat that I don't hate Jewish people. I like Anomaly and I love Laura Loomer. I just hate the Jews that never have enough money and will F over anyone for a penny. Well, you know, that's people like AIPAC and people like the ADL, right? Everybody's an individual. Someone said, I don't understand how any Jewish person cannot support Trump. He has been our biggest ally. Absolutely. Everybody should support Trump. Let's see what else. Oh, scroll up a little bit more. I hope the commies' worst nightmare, the invaders' worst nightmare, stand up patriots. Yeah, look, we got to get Trump back into office. We have to get President Trump back into office. All right, you can scroll down. I want to see what people thought about the interview. What did you all think about the interview with Will? Everybody is commenting. Great, they love the show. And again, if you're watching on X right now, be sure that you follow me on Rumble, right? Because my show is not on X, but I wanted to inform people on X because that's where most of my following is, that I have a show on Rumble because, you know, there's so many of you that don't know I have a show on Rumble. And I do my best to post the links, but it feels like the Rumble links get suppressed on X for some reason. It's almost like they're hidden because when I examine the engagement, it shows that the links for Rumble that I post are suppressed. And so be sure that you go to rumble.com/Laura Loomer. We have 21,000 live viewers right now on X. That's a lot of people. I want all those viewers to be on Rumble, okay? That's what I want. And I love X, right? But I want people to follow me on Rumble as well because I want to build up my Rumble channel because the bigger my Rumble channel gets, I want it to be the same size as my X account, right? Almost 1 million followers. And so go to rumble.com/Laura Loomer. Be sure that you download Rumble. It's free. Subscribe to my Rumble. It's free to do so. You have to click. Let's go to rumble.com right now and show people how to do it. Go to rumble.com/Laura Loomer and click the follow button. And then if you want to subscribe to me on Locals, you can click Get Loomered and you click the support button. And then you can click subscribe. You can subscribe monthly for $7 a month or annually for $70 per year. And this is how you support my work, or you can give a one-time donation. This is how we pay for all of the work that we do when we travel to New York or we travel to Fulton County or wherever we go. There may be a special surprise tomorrow for all of you. So be sure that you're following my X and be sure that you're subscribed to my Rumble. I can't tell you about what's going to happen tomorrow, but somebody might get Loomered. Somebody might get Loomered. It's going to be a very spicy day tomorrow. So it's a secret.
It's Loomer time.
It's Loomer time. It's a covert operation, but somebody might get Loomer tomorrow. You're gonna have to subscribe to my Rumble, and you're gonna have to be sure that you're following me on X to find out who might get Loomer tomorrow. Laura, do you get notified when people support you on X? Yeah, I get notified when people subscribe. So again, people can follow me on X, but you can subscribe to me here on Rumble and Locals, and be sure that you are following me. Be sure that you're following me. And somebody, what is it? Eastside Missionary Bible Church said, I got my $17.75 subscription for $17.99 with my Loomer discount. Great. Yeah, you could subscribe to get $17.75 coffee. Everybody drinks coffee. And you can support my show by supporting my sponsor and using code Loomer, because when you support my sponsors are happy, and then they keep sponsoring me, and I'm able to keep on doing the journalism and the activism that I do. Somebody said, where's Charles? Charles is busy writing articles. Alrighty, we have Elijah Fire, $17. Do not fear, Laura. Real American patriots will protect Jews at all costs. I am a Christian, and I want all Jews to repent and trust in Christ. That does not put us anomalous with any other faith. Thank you. Let's see. Great show. No critique. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I love dogs. Somebody said, I hope you like dogs. Yeah. Yeah, and you can also watch the replay as well. You can watch the replay. Somebody said they watched my interview with Owen Schroyer. Yeah, I was on InfoWars today. I was on InfoWars. You can catch my interview. It was kind of like a debate almost. It turned into an hour-long segment with Owen. So I love Owen. Look, we're not going to agree on everything, but Owen and I have been friends since about 2015, I believe, and he's a good guy. So I really like Owen Schroyer. I love the crew over at InfoWars. And be sure that you are following me on Rumble, rumble.com/Laura Loomer. And again, be sure that you're following me on Truth Social, X, Gab, and Getter at Laura Loomer for all of my exclusive updates and reports. Again, if you are watching this live stream on Twitter, you can watch the replay on X. I don't ever generally stream on X. I only did it tonight because I wanted to migrate people over to my Rumble account. I wanted people to know, because so many people have been like, oh, I didn't know you have a show. And every single day I post my links for my show. And it just seems a little bizarre to me that, there's not crossover happening. And it proves to me that there's an issue with link suppression, because how is it that 21,000 people are watching right now live on X, but then only 100 people when I post will see my link when I tweet it out telling them to go on Rumble. So again, please follow me on Rumble, rumble.com/Laura Loomer. Also, be sure that you download the Rumble app, because you will not get notifications for the show going live unless you download Rumble. You have to follow me on Rumble, and you also have to enable your notifications for Rumble on your phone. So if you want to get notifications every single time I go live, you need to go in your settings on your phone and enable notifications for Rumble. Some people have their notifications turned off. Kimmy B, thank you for the $10. You said, thanks, Laura. Stay safe. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate that. People say, I follow you on Rumble. Do you have a Loomered shirt I can buy? Yes, actually, I do have Loomered shirts. So we'll get those back up. We'll put them back in stock. We used to sell a lot of the Loomered shirts, and then I got deplatformed on Teespring and a lot of those print-on-demand shirt sites where I used to sell a lot of my merchandise. So, it made it very difficult to do merchandise, because I had to then purchase all the bulk product as opposed to doing it print-on-demand like so many other people do. And I also sell my Donald Trump Did Nothing Wrong shirts. You can go to forevertrumper.com. That's forevertrumper.com. And that's where you can that's my website with a friend of mine. We designed this brand, forevertrumper.com. See this? This is our site. It's kind of retro. It's a retro site that sells retro merchandise to fight back against the weaponization of Donald Trump. And so we have this really cool retro design of his mugshot that we designed with the Forever Trumper logo. And of course, the T in Forever Trumper was designed to look like Donald Trump's hair. And if you go to forevertrumper.com, which is my website, you can click on the shop. We have Forever Trumper hats. We have Forever Trumper orange shirts. We have the mugshot mug. I have that mug here. I love it. You can drink your 1775 coffee out of the mug. Go to 1775coffee.com/Loomer. What else? We have the Donald Trump Did Nothing Wrong t-shirts as well. And we have the red Forever Trumper shirts. So that's the Donald Trump Did Nothing Wrong shirt that you always see me wearing. It's the same exact shirt that I have that my friend and I designed and we sell at forevertrumper.com. It's the same shirt that I was photographed wearing with President Trump. And he loves it. He loves the shirt. Every single time President Trump sees me at one of his events and I'm wearing the shirt, he gives me a big thumbs up. So he really likes that shirt. And then, of course, the Forever Trumper is a new shirt that we designed it a couple months ago. But that's the exclusive merch, right? Exclusive merch. If you want to be like me, get your own merch today, forevertrumper.com. But with that, thank you so much to everybody who has tuned into Loomer Unleashed tonight. I really appreciate it. We had a modified schedule this week, of course, because of Passover and whatnot. But next week, Loomer Unleashed resumes to normal schedule. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we will be providing continued coverage of the Trump trial. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of craziness that ensues over the weekend with these continued Hamas riots across America. And as always, be sure that you're following me on X and True Social for all of my exclusive updates and reports. And stay tuned for tomorrow, because you're just going to have to find out who might get Loomered if it all works out. It's always You know, I'm pretty good. I don't really miss. So generally speaking, when I want to Loomer somebody, it gets done. But you'll have to just see what happens. So be sure that you turn the notifications on tomorrow to see who's going to get Loomered. You're not going to want to miss it. With that, I hope that all of you have a wonderful weekend. Happy Passover to all who are celebrating. And I will see you next Tuesday for another episode of Loomer Unleashed.
There is a young female journalist, conservative journalist by the name of Laura Loomer.
If America's men acted like Laura Loomer, our problems will be fixed in about 5 minutes.
Chain yourself to Twitter.